Welcome to the Nordic Mythology Podcast. I'm Daniel Farron, co-owner of the company Horns of Odin, and I'm joined as always by Dr. Mathias and Audhild.
Hello, everybody. This time we're joined by Connor and Audhild from Valhallas Silver, the company behind the cool jewelry and also the outfits in the new movie, The Northman. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
And you have some of my favorite accents out there. We had Ben Mudjohn, and the Northern Ireland accent is one of my top accents in the world. I just love it. I just got a thing for it. I don't know what it is.
You know, we hate to hear our own voices. Like, you know, I can't watch the television in Northern Ireland and go, no, I sound like that.
I get that when I hear somebody from Yorkshire, it's like being hit in the head with a brick, but it's somehow, yeah, I sound like that. It's disappointing. Yeah, so you I guess were lucky enough to do some of the jewelry for the new Northman film. Me and Mathias got invited to go and watch it on some press viewings, which is really, really nice. And we're going to do a review on that come the week it comes out, I think. Mathias, is that right? We're going to
yeah.
So we'll
planning it for that. Yes.
So we're going to do our review of the movie then. But one thing that does stand out when I watched it is obviously the jewelry. It does play a big role, particularly the pendant that Alexander Skarsgård's character has. Was that one of yours?
No, we're not. We were talking about this earlier today. We're not sure where the pendant came from. It seemed to have already been a part of the movie before we even joined, and we were there from December 2019.
Okay.
And with the first meeting with the costume designer, she said, "We've got this pendant, and it's got Arabic script on it, and that's going to be a big feature in the film."
Right.
So everything else was already, you know, anything that he's got around his neck is based around that pendant. First of all,
okay.
You know, so off the back of that, we made the neck rings that he's wearing, you know, which are specific to his character. It actually has a runic. You'd never ever see it in the movie, but there's special terminals made for him that have his name in runes, Amleth, written on the back of that particular neck ring that he's wearing throughout it, you know. But these things are lost, you know what I mean, in the production, like.
But it's pretty cool that it's in there, though. Like I like that it's in there, that and then we're not seeing it. It's just like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of that in there, you know, a lot of things that are hidden that were put in, but they've never made it to the screen, you know.
No, they never will. It's between you really and the actor.
Yeah.
The designer, you know. So it's hidden secrets.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things. You're an artist, so you're always going to do everything to the best of your ability, even if it's not going to be seen up close and personal on every shot. You know, it might just be a glance, but you're still going to make sure that it's as good as can be.
Yeah. With this one, we didn't know what we were going to get. You know, you just have an idea that the movie's going to be big based on what you're being allowed to see. You know, or on what you're being told or asked to make. But I had no idea that it was going to be what it is. It's huge.
I'm seeing it everywhere. Certainly this last couple of weeks, I hadn't seen too much about it. And obviously, we're kind of in this sphere, so we've heard rumblings of it. Obviously, Jonas Lorentzen, who's a part of the show at this point, he's on quite often. He worked on it. He's actually in it as well. He pops up. You see his face. So we'd heard kind of bits and bats, but these last 2 weeks, it's really kind of pushed the market. Yeah, the marketing has really kind of kicked in. I was watching the UFC at the weekend, and it was on the Octagon mat was like the Northmen, and I'm sure that's not cheap. That's prime real estate, I think.
Yeah, some of the best you can get, I would imagine.
So yeah, they're spending some money. It's definitely been shown. So did you know from the start that it was Robert Eggers that was making it? Because as soon as I heard that name, I would have been excited, and I would have known that I guess I would have thought it was going to be a big production.
We got invited the 19th of December to go in a meeting with a designer, and we got just told, bring some, do you know what? Being Norwegian and saying the word jewelry is really, really hard. And that's what I'm working with. So it's like, I just want to use the Norwegian word instead. Yeah, it's really hard to say. But we get asked to bring with us clothes and jewelry to show them. So we started with the clothes and we went through a couple of things, that was all hand stitched from, and I've just been using research from findings to do that. And then again, he was showing them, pieces of jewelry from findings. And then...
Yeah, I took off from there. I mean, they weren't, I don't think when we arrived, they weren't really prepared. I had brought a little oak box that I had made, and I had stuffed every perceivable piece of jewelry that I had into this box. And I pretty much just dumped it out on the table for them, and they were like, oh my God. A little bit overwhelming for them. But yeah, Robert Eggers, this stuck in my mind. The designer called him up, and he came down to the meeting, and he sat down, he said hello, and he sat down in front of us, and then he just started picking things up, and he was looking at this, and then he picked this up and set it down, and he put pieces of jewelry together. He'd never touched Viking jewelry before, I wouldn't have imagined, but he put pieces of jewelry together in ways that I never would have considered. You know what I mean? He took a Thor's hammer and hung it off a thing like this, and it looked fantastic. And because it's not found in the ground this way, I would never have considered doing that, But when I saw what the guy has some kind of intelligence about him, that it's just a little bit above other people. I think, he's very, very, very clever.
So creative.
Yeah.
But I think it was overwhelming for them, but it was extremely overwhelming for us to come and understand, because we just thought, this is just going to be just another production, and they're not going to do, anything with this taste. So when they were starting to explain what they were thinking they're doing, they just blew our mind. We were like, what?
Yeah, because the level of authenticity that they've gone to in there is just completely unheard of, in the movie world.
Yeah.
It's something completely different. You're not going to find that in any of the other TV series out there at the minute. Nothing like that. It's just every single stitch is exactly how it should be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. I'm personally, as somebody with a background in the actual history of all of this, I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Because we've seen the Viking show, for instance, and what is it that they're wearing? what is that? And what is that? And how did they come up with that? And so on. So I'm really happy to hear that he actually took his time to look into this and work with people who know what they're doing.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
To pull it back to what you said about his kind of eye, you only have to look at his movies, whether it's Witch or Lighthouse, and now with the Northmen, they are above anything else. They are just masterpieces in cinematography. They are beautiful. They're just beautiful creations. They're, whether you like the story or don't like the story, you cannot argue that they're just an incredibly beautiful thing to look at. So he definitely does have that eye and the way of putting things together.
Yeah, a special kind of creativity. Yeah, definitely.
He is something out of this world. It's so amazing to get to work with him.
And he takes the same costume designer with him on those other movies that you're speaking about as well. That's Linda Moore. She's equally brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Really, her research is incredible. To the level of somebody who studied it for 10 years, and she's been looking at it for a year. She's just night and day in books until she's got what she's looking for. Which is amazing, absolutely amazing.
And just to hear how she does the research and how she works as well, she's such an inspiration. And something that you don't see in the movies is that she has been ordering in wool, hand-spun wool, hand-woven, and natural £300 a meter for a movie. And you're not going to see if it's hand-spun or hand-woven.
Yeah.
But that's the level she goes into.
And that's not cheap.
No,
No.
no, it was, I have never held wool for £300 a meter before. And we were sitting and hand sewing in them.
Yeah. Wow.
But
Yeah.
that's what makes the movie stand out. All those, I know you say like people won't know, but there you can, when you add all these things together, it brings that air of authenticity to it. All these little kind of 1% things that start to add up to something that's really remarkable, like you say, that you just don't see in other TV shows. That just don't really care about that. And that's something that he seemed to do with all his movies. Is really, he seems like he's picked a team, or like he's assembling this team of people that he likes to work with, whether it's actors, because you see the same actors pop up in his film time and time again. And obviously behind the scenes, it's the same. And he's picking these people who he really likes and then moving on to the next project. And they're adapting, but still giving that quality, I guess, of what he wants.
Yeah. It's so good. So good.
So one thing I have to ask about, and I might actually be embarrassed here, the neck talks, I always thought you wore them the other way around. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who thought you wore them the other way around. But in the movie, you see them put them on. Like, so I assume most people listening to this will have seen a neck talk. You know, it's like a, not more than a semicircle, like 80% of a circle with an opening, and it pops open, and you pop over. For the people watching, Connor's going to hold one up. But obviously that one closes all the way around. But you see some that kind of, they've got like a little gap, and you pull it apart, pop it on. Now, I always thought you wore that with the opening towards the front.
Doing a lot of illustrations, especially when it comes to like Celts with wearing Torcs, they have them open in the front. Yeah, I think that's probably where you got it from. And
do we know?
I'm pretty sure it's just some artists' sort of like, you know, assumption that that's how they wore them. Like,
the earlier Celtic Torcs that you're talking about were open in the front, with finials, terminals on them, and so on. You know, throughout the Viking Age, they somehow developed these closed Torcs that you're seeing in the movie, that I'm wearing at the minute. You know, Viking Age ones were pretty much closed at the back.
Okay.
We don't know why. We don't know why.
I
mean, it's one of those things.
Just one of those things.
I mean, you find them all over, right? You find them all over Northwestern Europe. Yeah. So they were pretty popular jewelry, I guess you could call them.
And I guess it would be perfect to hang a little Milner from.
Yeah.
It would be.
I mean, he can't be the first person to have done that. There'll be somebody out there listening to this that's done it, that did it first, and he's like, the bastard stole it.
Of course.
Definitely.
But in all of the studies and research that I've done, I've never seen anything come out of the ground that's been a neck torque with a Thor's hammer hanging from it, you know. So it was a new thing for me at that moment, you know. I was like, whoa, that's a good idea.
I mean, it's the worst thing is it's really obvious as well.
Yeah.
It's not it is, you know, it's something around your neck that you can hang something from. It's pretty there, but it takes somebody to point it out sometimes for you to go,
yeah, it was. We were just sitting when we drove home back from the meeting. We were like just talking about how he lifted and just put things together. And it was just like, wow, we never thought about that. And it's like you said, it's obvious, isn't it?
But sometimes you need that outsider's eye, I think.
Yes.
The outside
that's a very important one. It's very important.
So important. We learn a lot from our customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get buried in books and research and stuff like that, you know, and then you sort of put blinkers on sometimes, you know, that's the only way, like, you know, but we'll have to move forward a little bit too, you know. A few new ideas doesn't do any harm.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so-
exactly what go on, Mathias.
No, I wanted to like shift tracks a little bit and start asking you guys a little bit about like how did you come up with a Valhallas Silver? What is the thought and idea and all this stuff behind it? I would love to hear a little bit more about your history in all of this and how you approach making historical jewelry.
Okay.
You start.
You can tell them a little bit about the name because you're good at that. Like. Come on.
Right. Should we start with the name then?
Yeah.
You know,
Start,
Valhalla.
yes. Start at the
it was
beginning.
it was supposed to be Valhallas Silver, and we have a group in Poland that is called Valhalla, and they're really good friends of us. So first we phoned them up and we said, is it okay that we use the name Valhalla Silver? And they were like, of course, please, it's an honor, go ahead. And this is how many years ago?
That's a few now.
5 years ago, maybe.
Mhm.
And then we were playing with the Valhalla, and for me, it just didn't become right. And then suddenly just clicked, and I said Valhallas Silver. Right now, I'm going to use some words that is hard for me to say again. But today, when the archaeologists are out digging, they sometimes find something really precious in the ground. And for the one that died and get buried and had that necklace or ring on them, they brought them with them in the grave so they could bring it to Valhalla. And for that reason, it's not our silver that we're doing something with. We are recreating Valhalla's silver that came from Valhalla.
Mhm.
Ah, okay. I like that.
That's
Yeah.
where the S came from.
That makes a lot of sense.
I thought it was just because it sounded better.
That
just-
too, but that too.
It does, because there's something about like Valhalla Silver. There's like a pause, like it doesn't flow into the next word, whereas Valhalla Silver just kind of rolls off the tongue. It's just easier. It's easier to say.
And it's for us to keep this alive, you know, what they find in the ground that was made for 1,000 years ago, and to keep it alive today so the people today can wear the same kind of jewelry that they had for 1,000 years ago. And that was extremely precious for the person.
Mhm.
So like inspired by our ancestors, that's one of our,
A slogan, I guess, you
Yeah.
would call it, inspired by our ancestors. You know?
Yeah.
A
No,
tagline.
that makes so much sense to me. So like, I mean, just think about it. We're opening graves that belong to people,
yeah,
like real
exactly.
people.
Yeah.
There
'Cause
should be some
if we
respect
were
in
to,
that, you know.
yeah, exactly, right.
yeah.
And like it's not just a historical object. This is something that people had a very close emotional attachment to.
Yeah.
And if we try to translate this to today, like how would you feel if somebody just walked up to your grandpa's grave, opened that, and like took things out and so on, right? We if we try to put it in those terms, all of a sudden we realize there are actual humans involved here, and a culture and ways of relating emotionally to these objects. So I really think that's a really beautiful thought that you're giving. You're showing respect to that, simply that this is what you're working with. You're working with stuff that actually belonged to people and was meaningful in their lives.
Yeah, very.
And also that it was precious, because we're all drowned in consumerism now, and there's so many throwaway items, things aren't made to last. You know, you even down to the washing machines, dryers, they break, you throw them away and get a new one. It's sad. So trying to remember that, you know, these things were valuable and precious, and they meant a great deal to the people who had them. There was a lot of work into them, and bringing that back.
What we can talk about here, which you know is I find fascinating, because you guys seem to be doing it in your business, the work that you do in general with your with the things that you produce and sell to people. And it also seems to me that this is what Robert Eckes and his team behind the movie were doing. Like even if you're not seeing that there are runes on some piece of jewelry over here, or that the stitches are handmade and not machine stitches in the clothing and so on, it's done anyway because it's added value. Like this, you know, you add an additional dimension to your production of something here, and that makes it more precious. That makes it more meaningful, essentially. Yeah, and that's I love that. I think that's fucking amazing. To be honest.
I wonder if it makes a difference to the actors if having something that is authentic, that they can, because you can tell the difference between a 300-pound meter bit of fabric and you know, cheap kind of plasticky one. You can tell the difference, and they can tell the difference when they put it on. So I wonder if there's something in the way that they act and getting into character and feeling in that world with all those. It would
definitely make a difference to me. I mean, having played Viking at plenty of reenactment scenarios and Viking markets and so on.
I would love to see that.
You know,
I have pictures.
Oh, I need to see those. I'm still trying to get the drum and bass music you told us about in the Q&A last week.
No, I was working in Iceland when we did the last filming of the Northman, and I was dressing Anya, and we were working on some of the costumes, and she was having one of the dresses on there, and she said, I just want to let you know, when I sit and I have a break, often I just put up the dress and I just see all the hand stitches. And it just means so much to me that all these people have put an effort for me to look like a real Viking. So yeah, I think all of them really appreciate it. And you know, Linda's work, she has so much respect in such a lovely way from everybody that is working for her, and you know, with her, and the cast too.
It's nice to know that Anya is not only beautiful but also humble. One thing I want to ask is, obviously you guys put so much effort into what you're doing, so much research. How do you react to kind of the amount of Chinese imports that floods this market? Obviously I have a business in this market, and we try to avoid anything like that. We try to keep everything as local as we can, as handmade as we can, but you see so many other companies that don't care, some of the biggest companies as well, that may or may not kind of word their sales tactics in a certain way to make it seem like they come from certain places that they don't.
That was a very diplomatic way of saying that.
I don't want to get us into trouble, but that must be frustrating, because I get frustrated because when I started doing the horns, there was very little kind of, other than doing it yourself, there wasn't kind of like for our equivalent would be the Indian horn market. It's huge, and there wasn't that many carved versions coming from over there. But I've seen the bigger we've got as a company, my designs, things that I've kind of put on there, they've just been copied, and now other people are selling on their shop because they're getting them from over there. And I imagine that must happen to you guys as well, and it's something you can't really stop, and it's fucking annoying.
Yeah, it is. We were talking about this recently, between the two of us. We started with reenactment somewhere around about 2000, you know, and at the time it was very, very hard to get information. You know, apart from a few books, the internet wasn't really up and running properly, all that sort of stuff, you know. And now, 22 years later, it's still really hard to get the right information, because the internet's just full of such other shit that it's hard to dig through it all, you know. So
Amen.
you know, for any kids starting in that scenario, like they're going to find it very, very hard to find things that are right. It's easy to find information on a Viking, but is it really a Viking, or is it a Chinese version, you know? As far as the jewelry goes, like, I don't, you know, I'm not going to sit here and slag off China as a country or anything like that, but
no,
they really only produce things that are easy to mass produce. You know what I mean? So some of the more technical things that we would be doing in the workshop now, like they're not even going to look at that stuff because it's going to take.
It's handmade.
It's handmade.
You can't make
They're
it
not.
without.
You can't make it with a machine, you know.
Show that a little
Yeah,
bit closer, because that's
there's only so many people online. The rest of it, you know.
Oh, it goes onto YouTube after as well. So it's a good time to plug that. We recently started putting all the episodes onto YouTube.
Wow.
So if you want to watch this and see the visuals, you can hop over to YouTube. It comes out the same day as release now, and you can see our pretty faces.
And you can see that beautiful artwork on that Torc that Connor is holding up right now. That is amazing.
And that's done by hand.
Yeah. It's it's a different thickness of strands of sterling silver, and woven in a technique that they used. And it's that particular weave's being dug out of the ground in Gotland, in the form of a bracelet. I mean, a Chinese machine can't do this. No. It just can't. It can't do it. You know.
So, I do want to say that I've tried weaving bits of copper. I used to be a plumber, so I used to have access to wire, and I tried to kind of just weaving copper wire together as just an exercise, just practicing, just see what I could do. It's fucking difficult. Even if you anneal it, you anneal it and make it softer, so it's meant to be a little more pliable. It's not easy to do. Even if you get the weave right, getting it smooth like that is such a skill, and it's so impressive to see.
It's all about the 10,000 hours now.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And there's no way you can compensate for that. It's same with like people email me or message on the Instagram and like, how do you get the line so smooth? And it's like they expect there to be some secret to it. It's like I have some secret technique that other people don't know about, or what bit do I use, what Dremel do I use, or what tool. And it's like I use the same thing you use. It's literally just like I
just know what I'm doing.
I've done this thousands and thousands of times.
Exactly.
And that's why it's smooth. And there's no kind of substitute for that.
There's no shortcut. There is no shortcut. You just got to do it over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. Until you get good at it.
So Dan, you just keep on continue, Dan.
I'm not trying that again.
Stop. That's the clue. Never stop.
I'm sticking to what I'm good at. I'm gonna try and work with people who can do it like that. That's the idea, because I think there's people who specialize in certain things, and it's good to see. It's good to see that, because I definitely appreciate the frustration of kind of the mass produced market. And it's not just China. It comes from
that's not
any country, whether like say with India with the horns, and it's just there. And unfortunately there's a huge market for it because people want to buy stuff cheap.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. You get this stuff with many different cultures too. It's not just the Scandinavian stuff. You find this in all kinds of contexts. Travel around the world, right? And you'll find the local hubs for selling stuff for tourists, right? And the vast majority of it is mass-produced crap that somebody made in a factory somewhere. And it's really sad. It's really sad because you're just bottling you're bottling culture, right? Putting it on bottle and then selling it to people around the world, so they can then go out there and like, hey, look, I went to this and that place and I bought this particular thing and now I'm so cool and cultured. And it's like,
but it's another thing as well, is that when you buy from sources where you don't know where it comes from, you don't even know what metal they're using, or if there is anything in the metal that can react really badly to you without you having a skin reaction, but it can affect other things that you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and lots of people forget that.
Yeah, and in the same way, you don't know what are the environmental and labor costs of all of this as well. Like, was this made in a sweatshop, for instance?
Exactly.
Was this made by children? Was this made in a way that, you know, is incredibly pollutive and that kind of stuff? So there are so many problematic aspects to this.
No, yeah, it is, and obviously I mentioned the horns a lot because that's kind of what I know, and I get people sometimes like, oh, they're so expensive, or oh, look at the price, and that's like, yeah, because they're not. Because I get emails every day from people from India trying to sell me horns, and they send me pictures of the workshop, and I'm like, some of those people look suspect as whether they're even old enough to be in there, let alone that there's no ventilation, there's no mask, there's no PPE. And so my reply to people is like, yeah, because they're made by people who have no kind of healthcare. That's why they're so cheap.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, like when you are an artist who makes stuff in hand, right? It takes a lot of hours to do it, right? People don't really realize this. I have a good friend. She makes clay. Among other things, this cup that I was drinking my poorly made espresso from. It's one a very good craft.
It's a very nice cup.
Yeah, it is. Giving a shout out to Lauren Sivas right here on the Nordic Mythology podcast. I wasn't paid to make this ad. No, I was just saying she has the exact same issue.
Free cups. Yes.
What?
I like you, Connor. Free cups. Free cups for the podcast.
So she was telling me the other day that, like, when she has a booth up at like different events and so on, a bunch of people come in there all the time like, oh, this is really expensive. And she's like, yeah, I spent 5 hours making this particular thing. That's why it's so expensive. Yeah. And the same way, it's like some people like, oh, I could 3D print that. It's like, no, you couldn't.
No, you couldn't. No, you can't. So, yeah, we get that a lot. We do shows as well. You know, we're be at Jorvik is the next big one that we're doing like every year, and you always get that. You get that at every show. Like, this is too expensive. A lot of the time, I don't even respond to that anymore. You know, if somebody's coming with that attitude, then they're not thinking about it the right way, really, are they? Like, you know, so
no, they don't. They don't understand.
Yeah.
But then everybody have different wallets too. You know, everybody have different wages, and we are standing different places. So, but some people just, you know, it's not everybody that can afford what we are doing.
But I think
we have been saving a lot to get where we are today. Yeah. We could not afford that in the beginning when we started to do reenactment. We could have never afford this. So, you know, you need to save money to what you really like, you know, and then.
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to the attitude of people, though. Like when we do a lot of shows, and I think if somebody says, this is beautiful, and they're like, I wish I could afford it, then that's one thing. But when they come in with the attitude of, oh, look at it, and go, oh, look at the price of that, as if you're ripping them off by them buying it, it's like, no, this is a fucking handmade. That was one of my favorite things when we used to do Comic-Cons, was that we'd have horns that were like maybe £60. That's not a lot to say the hand carved, and then you see people with the little Funko Pop dolls. I don't know if you know what those are. They're like the little plastic superhero figures. You will have seen them about. The little plastic dolls, and people will pay like £80 for them, and there's fucking 200 of them sat there, and they've just bought one of them, and they'll be like, yeah, that handmade thing's expensive, but this little fucking bit of plastic, that's valuable.
It's just been popped out of a mold.
Yeah. Yes. And that was one of the most frustrating things for me. And it's just, but you, like you say, you can't. There's not much you can do with people that kind of have that mindset. But you do get those that come along that really do appreciate it. And it makes you appreciate those people even more, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we see a lot of customers coming back to us again and again, like, you know, so that we must be doing something right if that's the case. You know, I'm sure it's the same thing for you, Dan. You know, you see the same names popping up again on the website and so on, and they always come to look for you at the show and stuff. So that makes my heart sing, you know, because you know that you're really delivering something that's a good product. You know, if people are coming back for it again, you know.
And some customers have become our friends, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, quite a lot of them. So it's quite personal for us when we sell things. It's not just to sell an item, it's quite personal. So when we go to York, loads of our customers come back just to say hello as well, you know, for a chat or a cup of coffee or.
Yeah, for all the, because there is some negative sides to this community, whether it's the fucking use by the white supremacists or just the people who sit online and gatekeep against everyone else, or just be shitty humans for all this stuff. It is also a beautiful community that you can meet some really amazing people. You were saying earlier, was it before the podcast or during, about you know, you sat down with Sean Parry earlier, and you know, it's people like that you meet, and they just become, you know, Sean's a good friend of mine now, and people through the podcast, you know, like with Mathias and Jonas, who do these all these wonderful, amazing people that you meet, and it kind of the Vikings, quote unquote, is kind of what the glue that brings everyone together, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
And see with Sean, he became a friend, and the friendship came more and more and more. And then, if you see what's behind us, that's our logo. So that's Connor's idea, working together with Sean and Victoria.
And Gloria.
Gloria. They made our logo.
Oh wow!
Cool.
Yeah. So that's.
So yeah, he's taken it's the Hillestad Church in Norway. There's a paneling on it, and it shows these different things.
Of course, yes, I see it.
Yeah,
it's Sigurd and Reagan, right?
Yeah.
So because in the summertime before COVID, we will travel to Scandinavia, and we will live 1 week in each Viking museum, teaching the people that work there and visitors how the Vikings did silver and bronze casting. So this is how you will see us in the summertime. Wow. 2 months of the summer, we are traveling around teaching.
Yeah. Cool. Well, when are you going to be in Bergen?
I'm going to be in July. But
in July, okay. That's unfortunate. I'll be there in August.
I haven't been there in 3 years.
No, exactly. I haven't been back to Scandinavia for 3 years either. So
is that right?
Yeah, I have to go to Denmark and Norway and everything.
Yeah. It's time, man. It's time for us all to move again.
Yeah.
Yes, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's especially the last 2 years. It's hard work to do anything or go anywhere.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
We got loads done too.
We did, yeah. We got a lot done.
Oh, you do it. It's partly a blessing in disguise. I know for us, it gave us an opportunity to kind of focus on what we're doing and grow the business and really kind of hone in. And I'm sure probably same for you, but also you just want to be able to go and see cool shit.
Yeah. You need to travel. Like, I think I've got some gypsy blood in me, man. I mention when it comes around the summer, you know, I'm like, please let me go.
Because the weather's so shit over here.
Yeah.
Same here.
That's not the same here. In Colorado, we have 300 days of sunshine, baby.
Oh,
no, you get snow every day.
I do get snow all the time though, but that's because of the altitude.
All I see is snow.
Yes, we just had a blizzard. Actually, this morning there was snow again, but because of all the sun, it melts off again. So it's like it goes back and forth. Like it's weird and schizophrenic, but I like it.
Yeah, we just get wet puddles, wet above,
and wind.
Wet and wind,
yeah.
Yes,
that's what makes it worse.
That's the kind of stuff you start missing when you live in Colorado, because there's I haven't seen the ocean for 3 years. Like, I'm a Scandinavian, I need ocean.
Yeah.
Like, I have not seen the ocean for 3 years, and yeah, and I'm going a little insane from that. And
so
then,
when are you traveling to Scandinavia then?
End of July, I'm coming to Denmark first, and then I'll be in Norway from like mid-August. So yeah, gonna have about 10 days in each location.
I know a certain thing that's happening in August.
There's some things happening, but important things.
I think everybody knows that Midgard's is on in August.
Yes. I will definitely be there.
I don't think you're hiding much
No.
when you said that you're going to Midgard's.
No, that is true.
I think. I hope.
You hope.
No, it's fine. To pull it back a minute, when you mentioned Sean made the logo with Gloria. Have you had a chance to meet Gloria?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
I think she's going to be, and I spoke to Sean about this. I think she will be one of the top artists in this whole kind of sphere. Her work, I remember when she started working at Sacred Knot, and her work from then to now is absolutely phenomenal, and it's incredible the pace she's come up. And I've spoke to Sean a bit about it, and he kind of says that exactly the same, that I think she's going to be a force to reckon with. It's she's incredible at this stuff.
Yeah, he said whenever she came originally, I think we when we leave here, we take a ferry from Dublin over to North Wales when we're leaving to go to Scandinavia. So we always drive past his house, past Candidno on the way. So we stopped every year, or on the way back from the show in England or whatever, we always stop. And when he'd just taken her on, when she just joined the Sacred Knot, he said, I think I've discovered the beast. Was how he said it,
Absolutely.
Something similar to that anyway. So yeah, I think you're right, man. She's a very talented girl.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. I think she hadn't been there long, and Sean was doing an Odin mask on my back, and she was helping him out and kind of shading at the same time. It was the first time I'd ever had two people tattoo me at the same time.
Wow.
And I was just, you can't tell the difference. I genuinely think she'll be really up there with somebody to kind of watch.
Yeah, so that's cool.
No, she have done a lot of work into the logo as well, and we got the logo in 2019 when we were traveling to Scandinavia. So we just stopped in Wales, and they handed over the logo to us, and we just couldn't believe it. And then the journey went up to Germany, and we went to Foteviken, the Viking festival there, and stayed there for a week. And then we went to Borre after that to be there. But I have an uncle in Borre, or in Horten. And he said, I have something really special that I wanted you to have for a really, really long time. And I said, what is this? So he come with it. It's like a big, huge folder.
Yeah. It's artwork for wood carvers in particular, from the Viking Age right through the whole of history, really right up until maybe the 1800s in Scandinavia. And one of the major pieces in it was a proper copy of the original of this. It was in the book that he gave us. It was like a surprise.
So that was page 3. So when I folded it, I just saw us, but the old version, and I was just like, I just started crying. And he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, Uncle, you don't know this. This picture here, we have just got made, but as us, our logo. So we showed it to him, and he was like, I knew that was going to the right person, he said.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, these things mean so much. We spoke before the show about social media and kind of trying to keep up with things and how difficult it can be, I guess, as creators. And when you make something that you're really proud of and then put it out onto Instagram, and even though inside that it doesn't really matter and you shouldn't care about the comments and the likes, that you can't help it. You can't, no matter how much better you should know, you can't help it. And it's like a constant struggle to keep on top of and push, certainly when you're so busy creating things and doing things and then having to try and market yourself on the side as well. How have you been finding that?
Yeah, we're both particularly bad at it, It's yeah, like we said earlier as well, you know, Sean gave me a bit of advice the other day, and he said, try not to look at it as a burden, look at it as a gift that you're able to show people your work, you know. So we have to try to take that stance with it, you know, and really talk nicely about ourselves.
But it's not easy to talk nice about yourself. That's a gift, you know, I that I didn't get. I don't think you got it either. It's like you get a little bit shy when you talk about your own work.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, look at us, people. Look what we are doing. It's just not us.
No,
I think
I get that.
I mean, we Scandinavians are very well acquainted with Jantelagen.
Yeah.
The
Very.
law of Jante.
Yeah, you should not think that you're any better than any other people out there.
Do not stand out.
Yeah.
All that stuff, yeah. But I think it's a very universal thing. I think there's a lot of people who feel that way. Yeah,
I think it's a British thing as well.
It's definitely,
we're quite introverted. If you accidentally knock someone, it's like sorry. Everyone says sorry for everything over here. So it is unnatural to be kind of like, look at me, look at this. But I think like Americans probably are quite gifted at it. It seems very natural over there. For a lot of people that I've met, kind of that's just maybe what they're taught. Whether they're more confident when they're younger, I don't know, but they're able to be out there and kind of rightfully so, I think, as well, be proud of what they've created, because you know you guys make absolutely beautiful things, and it's a shame that you struggle to be able to say, look at this fucking amazing thing that I've just made.
I want to attach a comment to this. So it's okay. So what you have is like the nice middle is where you're capable of showcasing your talents, what you're good at, without being fucking annoying, right? That's the nice middle. That's the person we would like to talk to, right?
Yeah.
And then you know, when we talk about these Scandinavians and Brits and Irish and so on, it goes from like that nice middle to oh, I'm worthless, and I'm trying to play dead in any social situation, right? That kind of stuff, right? And I think with Americans, it goes the opposite direction. Is like from that, you know, bearable. You want to listen to this person who knows what they're doing, and they're good about presenting that, but they're not too much. And then to just like, I don't know.
We have a lot to learn, don't we?
Yeah, it's like
a lot.
So
yeah, it's all about the happy medium, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
But even getting the balance is it's so hard to speak nice about your own work and to show it. I find it so hard. So when we post something, it's like, I don't know, I'm just afraid that people is going to, I'll look at them, now they're trying to show off again. But we have to start thinking that this is our marketing, and we have to start showing what we're doing. If not, you can't have a business running either.
Oh, the marketing's so important. And I didn't realize it until I kind of started to really stick my nose into it. And it makes a huge difference, and it can make a difference to the business kind of overnight when you really kind of get it right. And I'm happy to talk off air to both of you and kind of give you any tips that I've picked up, because there's a bunch of stuff that, like you say, it's finding the balance of everything, and just I guess just doing it. You gotta
appreciate that, man. You might get a phone call very soon.
Yes. We need help when it comes to things like that. We definitely need help.
It's I completely appreciate how difficult it is, because I've been there and I'm still there. You know, Matthias, I've bugged you about marketing stuff. Erica, you said works in marketing, so I was like, please ask your wife to help me. So that's I don't think you ever stop learning. You just kind of pick stuff up as you're going along and try and do stuff right. But
Well, I mean, with this kind of stuff, it's also, there are so many layers nowadays. You know, knowing your market, knowing your audience, and you can get really specific in also, you know, finding your focus groups and all that stuff. It's a whole science. It is overwhelming, and that's why there's like this whole new group of people out there who just only do marketing, right?
See about finding your audience. I've been trying to look into it, but that's really hard too. For over the years we've been making jewelry, it's we see that it could be a child that is 9 years old that buys something for herself, or we have the queen, one of the queens from Saudi Arabia. She went over and bought something too. So for us, where is the cut? You know,
that's a pretty wide range right there.
Yeah. And each sale was as important. For the 9-year-old one, it meant so much for us to selling it to her, you know.
Yeah, and the queen haggled with me.
Oh, I bet she did.
She says, "This is how much I've got. I'm not paying anymore," and I had to get.
But she was wonderful.
The thing is, you feel pressured because of who they are as well, to kind of.
She was lovely. She was
agree with it.
Lovely.
That was a good banging, actually. A good banging. They closed the place down, you know, for an afternoon to bring in special guests, like, and it turned out to be a king and queen and their entourage, like, you know, unbelievable.
Yeah. In fact, she just came and snapped it out of your hand. You were working on it. She's like, I take that one and then that one.
And this is what I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, dare you say no? But it's those experiences that are so surreal and amazing. I remember we were at a Comic-Con, and there was a lady kind of looking around at the table. She had a security guard with her, and I wasn't really paying attention. It was the Sunday. I was tired. And Sarah's like, I'm sure I recognize her. And I went over and spoke to her, and I was just talking, and she just picked up a horn that I carved Yggdrasil into, and a kind of like a relief carving. She's like, asking about it and asking if they were handmade. And I was just telling her the story behind kind of the business and whatever, and having a nice chat. And she just opened her purse and a bunch of £50 notes, and just didn't kind of like question the price. She just gave it me, bought it, walked off. And then when I went back to her, she's like, "Oh, that's is Rosario Dawson." And I was like, I mean, if you don't know, you might not know who Rosario Dawson is, but she's a Hollywood actress. She was in films like Sin City and a bunch of other things. Okay. And I was like, wow. Because I used to have a crush on her when she was in a bunch of stuff. She's a really pretty lady. And I just didn't recognize her at the time, because I was just, you don't, because I guess because you don't. But like after, I was like, that's such a surreal thing that, you know, somebody just walking around and just comes and get something. It's an experience that you kind of remember.
Yeah.
Very much. They talk about on podcasts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can wrap it up. If you guys, if there's anything else you want to talk about.
No, I'm good.
Already.
This is our first podcast, you know. All we do is really listening to podcasts when we're working. So we were a little bit nervous before we started, but you guys are just fabulous.
That was great.
Yeah.
No problems whatsoever.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't freak you out.
Yeah. Freaked myself out before it, but I'm settled now.
Yeah, you mentioned that you were nervous before, and I tried to preface the podcast. Preface. I
don't know. That really depends on what you're trying to say.
One of those two words, whatever I say next, and which one of those words fit best, just kind of put that in there.
I think we were just nervous that we had to talk nice about ourselves.
Yeah, maybe, yes. Yeah, that could be it. No, yeah, I try to tell everyone it's just we just try and sit and have a conversation. There's no pressure, there's no kind of anything. And it is, I used to be terrified before we started doing these podcasts. Like every episode I used to fumble the intro, not know what to say at the start. We were probably awful at the first few episodes we did.
We have a disclaimer in the first few episodes.
Yeah, we do.
Please don't hold it against us that the quality is so shitty.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, we have to put a disclaimer on the first 10 episodes or so because we were like, okay, please don't judge us by what these were. Like, fast forward like 100 episodes and then listen.
Yeah,
so
it was me, just trying to do a basic edit. It was bad. But now we have our wonderful producer, Shan. He knows what he's doing. I didn't.
No. One thing I wanted to add that I forgot to mention before was, I think, going back to kind of the social media side of things, I think you're in a perfect position, because you have a great product, and you have a USP in what you do, and you stand out in the quality of your items, and not many other people can do it. So you have everything kind of there already, and the marketing and the social media and the confidence and everything kind of can be added onto that as you go along. But you've got the core ingredient, which is a good, solid quality product, and that's the main thing that everything can be built around, rather than if you just was good at marketing but the product sucked. It can only last so long, but the longevity lasts in the quality of your work, and that's why you will be successful, and everything will come together because the core's there, and that's the main ingredient, I think. And I'm sure you will keep on growing.
We'll do our very best. Yeah.
No, the confidence is you will.
The dream will be to live off making jewelry. So, both of us need to have jobs next to our business at the moment. So, but
you'll get there.
Yeah.
But I think
without a doubt.
Yeah. Do you know that Connor is a sculptor? I have to tell you. See, now he's getting shy.
Oh, okay. In wood, clay,
no movie sculptor. So the movie thing wasn't, it's not that far of a stretch for us to go over to making jewelry, because I'm well used to it. I work in Game of Thrones and some other movies.
So he makes big construction
sculpture stuff.
Oh wow!
So, wait, man, you worked on Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
And you're just telling us now?
I know.
That's a conversation for another day.
There'll be so many people who just tuned off before we got here. I mean, that's fascinating. But I guess, do you want to leave that behind and just do the jewelry full time?
Yeah, I really love the job. I get to make some incredible things, but I mean, the thing about the jewelry job is that I'm in a workshop in a hermit position, really. And when I've been in there for 3 or 4 months, I only come out to eat, and then I forget how to talk to people and things like that. So to be able to step back into the movie world, it brings me back into reality, sort of reality.
I think you need the balance. So.
Yeah. I know the feeling that was the same for me when I was doing my PhD and stuff like that. I was just like sitting, just writing. The only person I would talk to was a book. I had like, what is that movie, Castaway? I had a book I painted a face
Wilson.
on. And Wilson. Like, shut up, Spalding. That kind of stuff. I know exactly what you're talking about. Now I'm forced to communicate all the time, though, because both with the podcast and teaching and everything, it is a skill that can be learned. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, no, yeah, I completely sympathize because we only went full time with the Horns like 18 months ago. So
Okay.
I, for the first 4 years, we was in the exact same position. So there's a lot of similarities. It's run by me and my wife, and we only recently took it to being able to do full time. So I completely get the struggles and the parallels between these two things of trying to take it from kind of it's not a hobby, but it's like you said, it's a side job. It's like having two full-time jobs is what it is.
Exactly what it is, man. Yeah.
That's how it feels at times, and it's at some point you do have to take the leap, because I completely understand how terrifying it is and how scary it is and how much it's like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if this doesn't happen? What if it's you can hold yourself back for longer than you should. I know I did. I wish I'd kind of just been like, fuck it. But thanks for, like, I guess it was for COVID was one of the reasons that I did, because it kind of forced my hand into that position. But once I was there, I was like, why didn't I do this 2 years ago? Like I should have. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to try and support you guys in any way that I kind of know. I want to talk to you, Connor, off air. Oh yeah, we will. Give a shout out to people where they can find you, find your website, find Instagram, plug whatever you want.
The website's it's just valhallasilver.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're in all the places that everybody else is, I guess. All under the same name all the time. That's about it, really. You'll find us at events. We're not going too far. Usually we would go to Scandinavia in this summertime, but it's not going to happen this year. We're going to be in Jorvik in the end of May. It's been moved. It's usually in February, but they put it in May this year because of COVID problems. There's a big event happening in Slane Castle here the week before Jorvik, actually. It's called the Boyne Valley Viking Experience. And
nice.
It's a friend of ours that's organising that, and it's got they've got some big bands playing at that, Corvus Corax and things like that, as well as the Viking market. Might be interesting for some people.
I need to go get shit faced at Viking markets in England and Ireland around there.
Yeah,
it seems like
like we'll find a corner of a tent for you to fall over in, and it'll be all right.
That sounds great.
We have a place.
You can come hang out with me.
Yeah, exactly, and then we could go
actually meet.
Yes, that too.
We've never met each other for all the
really
100 and what's this, like 120th episode?
Something like that. Yeah,
we've never.
Yeah, because we started right before the pandemic, so haven't really been able to travel and all that stuff.
So how did you two start doing the podcasting then? How did you meet?
He started bugging me, sending me messages.
No, he lies. He lies. No, we started using kind of just trying to think. I've forgotten the best way to put it. We use black models for our clothing range, and got a bunch of hate for it. And we, just because, like I was saying earlier about people just being assholes. So we got a bunch of kickback for what's the term?
People were calling people of color. Like cultural.
No, people of color is the term that I was looking for. We used I just couldn't think of the word. So basically we used models of different ethnic backgrounds, and people didn't take too lightly to it, or some people within this community didn't take too lightly of it. And I can't remember, I put a post somewhere saying like, fuck this, like whoever thinks that it's just whatever. And Matthias messaged me and asked kind of like about it and what the level was. So I sent him some screenshots of it. And then we got talking, and we're like, yeah, we should do a podcast about teaching people about this kind of stuff and speaking against it and kind of channeling things in the right direction. And then 2 hours 2 hours later, 2 years later. How fucking strong is this beer? then 2 years later, we end up here, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a reasonable explanation.
It was an awful explanation. Shan, cut that out.
But you know, when you go through something hard, sometimes it's always something good that comes out of it. It's always something good that comes out of a hard time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just we spoke quite kind of at length on here about the times we've used, you know, different colored models and people have just not liked it. And it's one of those things. It's 2022, you know, it's inclusive for anyone, and we get people who've messaged and said, no, thank you for using these models. It helps us feel included in this. And it's just like, I just use whoever looks good in the clothes. And we did a sports range, and we used there's a black guy called Marlon, and he was a fucking beast. He was like in ridiculously good shape, and I was like, you look good in the fucking sportswear. But people are like, oh, he's not a Viking. I was like,
that's bullshit, man.
Well, neither are you, you fucking idiot.
That's so sad. But it's always somebody. It will always be somebody that had to step the people down.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm so glad it happened though, that you two could meet. So
yeah.
Yes.
I know Shan's going to cut that whole section out. So
yeah.
no, so go and go and check out valhallasilver.com. Valhalla Silver on Instagram. Definitely give it a follow. They're going to be posting all their awesome work without shame. Mathias, where can people find you?
You can put my name in some search engine somewhere, and then there's a bunch of stuff that's going to fall out of there. You can find me on Instagram, Mathias Norvig. I have a website, mathiasnorvig.com. Yeah, you can't find me on Facebook. You will never find me on Facebook again. And that's that. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, and if you enjoy the show, please leave us a 5-star rating and a positive review. The best way to support us is Patreon if you can. It's literally the price of buying one of us a coffee a month, and you get a bonus episode every week. So it's either going to be a Q&A episode where you get to ask either of us whatever you want. You get to ask Mathias, you know, if you've got a question about Nordic mythology, the Viking Age, anything like that, you can ask your question direct to him and get a more in-depth answer than maybe on any other channel. And then the other one is story time, where Jonas Lorentzen comes on and we read a saga, which is a lot of fun, ends up in chaos.
Maybe at some point we'll also start featuring us fighting over a cup of coffee. Who gets it when
in Ireland?
In Ireland, yes.
Yes. Yeah. And also the YouTube channel. If you ever listen to this and wonder what we look like, or you just want to watch the episodes, pop over to the YouTube channel. It's just Nordic Mythology Podcast. Hit subscribe and the little bell button thingy that gives you an alert every time we put a video on there. We put the videos on there at the same time as release now, so people can watch them or listen to them. You've got the option. Yeah, that's it. And I will come and see you guys in Jorvik.
And
I'm
also
only in Huddersfield, so it's only 50 minutes away. And I'll be there anyway.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook as well. You can find the Nordic Mythology Podcast on Facebook. There is a interesting group for people who want to follow the Nordic Mythology Podcast on Facebook. I don't know anything about it. I only get screenshots once in a while. And then, of course, there's the Instagram page where you will get news and updates as well.
The Facebook page, Facebook group is a special kind of place.
And that's why I'm not on Facebook.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's a really good, I love it there. But it's mostly just people teasing me, to be honest. But I've got a good sense of humor, so I can take it. Yeah, but thank you both very much.
No problems.
And we will speak again.
We will.
About it. It was.
Thanks for having us, guys. That was really, really good fun.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
I'm glad you enjoyed it and you're not too nervous.
Yeah.
Perfect.